Everything's fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Good afternoon. Here is the weekly news update with Charmaine Colvin on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. Latest GDP figures for India indicate India's economy has slumped to a 7-quarter low of 5.4%, significantly lower than the Reserve Bank of India's forecast of 7%. Although robust compared to developed nations, the figure signals a slowdown. Economists attribute this to several factors. Consumer demand has weakened, with FMCG companies reporting a drop in sales, while salary bills at publicly traded firms, a proxy for urban wages, shrank last quarter. Reduced government spending is cited as another factor, although Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman believes that the decline is not systemic and said India will probably remain the fastest growing major economy despite challenges like stagnant wages affecting domestic consumption, slowing global demand and climate disruptions in agriculture. Other experts believe that the central bank's focus on curbing inflation has led to excessively restricted interest rates, potentially stifling growth. India's inflation rate surged to 6.2% in October, mainly driven by food prices. Vegetable prices, for example, rose to more than 40% in that month, likely influencing other everyday costs or core inflation. Others attribute the decline to India's economy operating on a two-speed trajectory, driven by diverging performances in its old economy and new economy. While some critics believe the problem lies with the central bank, propping up the falling rupee by selling dollars, which is bad for the economy and exports. The government, however, remains positive. Chief Economic Advisor V. Anantha Nageswaran said the latest GDP figures should not be overinterpreted, as the banks are strong, forex reserves are robust, finance is stable and extreme poverty has declined. Analysts believe fraud charges made against the Adani Group in the US last month will not affect the government's overall targets for India's clean energy goals. Gautam Adani has vowed to invest $100 billion in India's energy transition. Its green energy arm is the country's largest renewable energy company, producing nearly 11 gigawatts of clean energy through a diverse portfolio of wind and solar projects. Adani has a target to scale that to 50 gigawatts by 2030, which will make up nearly 10% of the country's own installed capacity. 30 gigawatts will be produced at Khavda in the western Indian state of Gujarat. It is the world's biggest clean energy plant, supposedly 5 times the size of Paris, and is the centrepiece in Adani's renewable crown. US prosecutors, however, allege that the Adani Group won contracts to supply power to state distribution companies in exchange for bribes to Indian officials, which has been vigorously denied. Police in India's capital, Delhi, has searched around 40 schools this week after receiving anonymous bomb threats. The schools received emails threatening that bombs would be detonated unless $30,000 was paid to the sender, according to news agency ANI. No bombs have been found yet, and police have not confirmed whether the threats are fake. Hoax bomb threats have increased significantly in India this year, with airlines and airports receiving around 1,000 threats, causing long delays and flight diversions. Experts are unsure as to what has caused this dramatic surge compared with previous years. In May, thousands of students were evacuated from nearly 100 schools in and around Delhi after fake bomb threats were emailed to them. Delhi Chief Minister Atishi has accused the federal government, led by Modi's BJP, of failing to ensure the safety of residents. An Indian beauty service startup has found itself in the eye of a storm for a publicity campaign aimed at highlighting workplace stress. An internal email from the company called Yes Madam went viral on social media, in which employees were informed that the company had decided to part ways with those who had reported feeling stressed at work. Earlier this week, however, the company clarified that it hadn't fired anyone and that the social media posts were part of a planned effort to highlight the serious issue of workplace stress. The campaign received mixed reactions online, with some praising it for drawing attention to an important topic, while others criticised the company for misleading people and toying with their emotions. It was also noted that the campaign had succeeded in propelling an almost unheard-of brand into the limelight in a matter of hours. And finally, the race to make the Cricket World Test Championship final is hotting up. With 10 tests remaining in the 2023-2025 cycle, 3 teams are still in with a realistic chance of making it to Lord's and playing for the right to be crowned World Test champions. Holders Australia are still firmly in the mix, as are India, beaten finalists in the first 2 editions of the competition, and South Africa. Defeat in the second test has made India's task more difficult, and they will need wins in the final 3 tests to guarantee qualification. So that's all from me. You have been listening to the News Roundup on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.